Okay, for cutting in the actual sink itself, this particular sink is only a little sink, and it's actually going to have its tap hole actually drilled into the bench top. So what we're going to do is, usually the best way of doing it is you line your tap hole in line with the centre of your window. So the tap hole is going to go there, then your tap hole then is lined up in the middle of this bowl here. And then all we need to do is just to check, obviously, to make sure that the bowls are actually going to fit inside the cabinet. In this cabinet here, it's going to be no problems at all. We've marked the centre line of the actual window. So that's the centre line of the window. It's 203 millimetres out from the centre line of the bowl out to the front edge of the bench top. Oh, sorry, front edge of the sink. So we've marked it out from there, so we can run our masking tape now along that point there. Sometimes a nice, quick, simple, and easy way to mark a line is just to grab a shelf. If you are a little bit out with your masking tape, so we'll put another piece there. Okay, so that's where the location of the actual sink itself is going to go. Now normally the sink is set in 65 millimetres from the front edge of the bench top. So we're just getting our line roughly there. That's our location. A good idea is just to double check to make sure that everything is going to line up. That's the centre line there. It's going to come nicely in the middle there. Now what we need to do is to actually mark masking tape around the rest of it, and now we actually mark out for the cutout for the sink. Okay, what I'm doing here with the sink is I'm just measuring in from the edge to the inside in there to work out how much I need to cut out. In this case it's about 13 millimetres, so I'm going to cut out 15 millimetres to make sure that it covers this lip around either side. So all you do on your bench top, so there's 15 millimetres there, so I'm just going to put my mark along there. Mark along there. Just using my shelf as a straight edge. So that's the outside of my sink, and that's the inside of my sink. So this one here is the measurement I need to actually cut out. What I find is a very good idea is to go like this. And that's just telling you that you're going to be cutting this line here. The last thing you want to do is accidentally cut that line. So once you've got this mark, always mark the actual line that you're going to use. Now I said in here that I was going to do the front at 65 millimetres plus 15 will make it 80. And the same thing on this side here, I'm going to come in 80 millimetres. Now the actual width of this sink is 470 millimetres. So that's the outside measurement. So 470 millimetres, I've got to come in 15 millimetres for the front and 15 millimetres for the back. So I'm actually going to be measuring 440 millimetres. And the same here, the actual length of the sink itself is 690 millimetres. So I'm going to be coming in 30 millimetres from that, which is 660. Okay, that's the actual line that I'm actually going to be cutting out. Always a good idea is just to double check that. 660, 660, 440, 440. So less 30 is 440. 90 less 30 is 660. Now by putting the masking tape around the bench top, that means when I run my jigsaw around the bench top, I'm not going to be scratching the bench top either. So number one is that it gives me a nice clear line to work off, and number two is that it means when the jigsaw is running around, it's not going to damage the top. Okay, now we're actually going to jigsaw out the bench top, just using my drill bit to actually do the holes in the corner so I can fit my jigsaw in. Obviously always make sure that you go to this side of the line and not that side of the line. Okay, we're now going to jigsaw out along our line. Pop the jigsaw in to start with. A good idea is we've got the end of the cabinet that's here, and we've got the dishwasher opening there, so a good idea is just to put a little note of where roughly that is. So when our jigsaw comes along here, we can then angle back the jigsaw, and then when we cut this way, we can angle back our cut that way. When you get close to the last part of the cut, a good idea is just to have your hand underneath the bench top, because you don't want the bench top falling out. And now you can just carefully take it out.
So where's he gone?
Okay, just as a little tip inside here, I normally file off, or you can get your block and your sandpaper. And you just sand a little bit of a round on it. Now the reason for that is that when you actually put the sink in and it's got its clips, if you need to take the sink out for whatever reason, if the clips catch onto the edge of the bench top, it can lift it up and chip it. So it's much better off if you do just put a very slight round all the way around the sink cutout area, and that way then you're going to have no dramas if you need to take the sink out for whatever reason. Okay, we can now take off our masking tape. This particular bench top has actually got a plastic protective seal on it, so we need to peel that back because the sink itself needs to sit on the laminate. Install the clips in the sink. Just pop the sink in.